I just watched someone trying to shove a sectional sofa through a doorway for 20 minutes. Turns out they measured nothing. Want to know what other design disasters people create with the best intentions? I'm Blake, and welcome back to Built by Becker. After seeing enough interior design train wrecks to fill a blooper reel, I've noticed the same mistakes happening over and over again. Today, I'm covering 12 design mistakes that will turn beautiful homes into frustrating disasters. I'm talking about furniture that doesn't fit, lighting that kills the vibe, and decorating choices that'll make your house feel like a furniture showroom instead of a home. Whether you're starting from scratch or fixing what's already there, these tips will save you from expensive regrets. Hit subscribe if you want to be smart enough not to make these mistakes. Let's start with the granddaddy of all design disasters: buying furniture without measuring anything. And I don't mean just measuring the space. I mean measuring doorways, hallways, stairways, and every possible route that furniture needs to travel to get where it's going. Honestly, you'd be shocked how often people fall in love with a couch online, order it, and then discover it won't fit through their front door. Or worse, it fits through the door, but it can't make the turn into the living room. Now, you've got a very expensive piece of outdoor furniture because that's the only place it will fit. I know, this sounds silly, but it happens. So how do you avoid it? Here's what you need to know before you buy anything bigger than a throw pillow. Grab some painter's tape and outline where the piece will go on your floor. Use blue tape for furniture, green tape for rugs. It really doesn't matter. Whatever color system works for you. This is the cheapest insurance policy that you'll ever buy against a $2,000 mistake. And measure everything twice, just like in construction. The furniture dimensions, your doorways, your stairs, the weird corner where your hallway makes a turn. Trust me, it's a lot easier to return tape than a sectional sofa. Moving on to the next thing. That would be people who chase every single design trend like they're collecting Pokemon cards. Your home ends up looking like a Pinterest board threw up all over it, and everything goes out of style really fast. That's why we don't chase trends for the sake of it. Listen, trends are fun, sure, but your home should tell the story of who you are, not what was popular on Instagram last month. When you base your entire design around everything that's trending, you're guaranteed to look dated in 2 years. Remember when everyone was obsessed with those word walls? Live, laugh, love, everywhere. Yeah, see how that's aging? Your personal style doesn't go out of fashion because it's yours. Mix in trendy pieces if you love them. Build your foundation around things that speak to you personally. Your space should feel like you, not like you hired a robot to copy the latest magazine spread. Let's talk about something that can make or break the entire mood of any room. Terrible lighting. If I've said it once on this channel, I've said it 40 times. Specifically, the crime of relying on one overhead light to do all the work. This is like trying to paint a masterpiece with one color. The ceiling light creates flat, harsh shadows that make everyone look tired and your room feels lifeless. You need layers of light. Ambient lighting for overall brightness, task lighting for specific activities, and accent lighting to highlight the things you love. Even something as simple as swapping out your bulb temperatures can completely transform how a space feels. Warm light for cozy areas, cooler light for workspaces, add a few table lamps or maybe a floor lamp in the corner, and suddenly your room has depth and personality instead of feeling like a doctor's office. The goal is to never need that overhead light unless you're cleaning or looking for something you've dropped. Different activities need different lighting, and different moods definitely need different lighting. Now, here's a mistake that makes rooms feel either cramped or unfinished, and it's all about scale and proportion. Furniture that's too big for your space makes everything feel crowded and claustrophobic. Furniture that's too small makes your room feel like a dollhouse where someone forgot to buy the appropriate sized accessories. This isn't just about the size of the individual pieces, it's about how they relate to each other and to the room. A massive sectional and a tiny living room turns your space into an obstacle course. Tiny chairs scattered around a huge room makes it feel like you're in a waiting area of an airport. Balance is everything, and no extreme is ever good. Too much stuff makes you feel anxious. Too little stuff makes you feel like you're in a sterile showroom. You want your space to feel curated but comfortable, designed but livable. Speaking of furniture placement disasters, let's address the classic mistake of shoving everything against the wall like you're preparing for a middle school dance. People think this creates more space, but actually it makes the room feel awkward and unfriendly. Floating your furniture creates conversation areas and natural traffic flow. Pull that sofa away from the wall, angle your chair toward each other, create little groupings that actually work and for how people interact. You want intimacy and coziness, not a furniture lineup against a wall. You need to leave walking space, but don't be afraid to let pieces breathe in a room instead of hugging the perimeter. They're not afraid of the center. Next, here's something that makes rooms feel aimless and confusing, not having a clear focal point. Every room needs a hero element, something that naturally draws your eye and anchors everything else around it. Maybe it's a fireplace, a piece of art, a beautiful view out a window, or even just a really great sofa in a cool color. Without that anchor point, your room feels scattered and purposeless, like nobody made any intentional decisions about what matters most. Once you've identified the focal point, arrange everything to support it, not compete with it. If your fireplace is the star, don't put a giant TV on the opposite wall fighting for the attention. Let your hero element actually be the hero. Now let's talk about color, specifically the mistake of playing it so safe that your entire house feels like a beige prison. Choosing one safe paint color for every room makes your home feel sterile and boring, like you're afraid to have an opinion about anything. You don't have to go crazy with rainbow walls, but slight variation in undertones can create different moods from room to room. Warm whites in cozy spaces, cooler grays in more formal areas, maybe a dusty green in your bedroom for a calming vibe. Color affects how you feel in a space, so why would you want every room to feel exactly the same? Give yourself permission to create different atmospheres throughout your home. Next, there's something that seems small but makes a huge visual impact: rugs that are the wrong size or no rugs at all. A tiny rug in a living room looks like a bath mat that got lost. A rug that's too big swallows your furniture and makes everything feel disproportionate. Rugs define spaces and tie furniture groupings together. They should be large enough that at least the front leg of your furniture pieces sit on them, and in dining rooms, make sure your chairs can pull off without falling off the edge. Use that painter's tape trick again to map out the size of your rug before you buy it. It's way easier to move tape around than return a rug that looked perfect online but terrible in your actual space. Here's a design trend that needs to die: the single accent wall. You know, the one wall painted in a different color while the other three walls stay a safe neutral. This often makes a room feel smaller and more chopped up, not more interesting. But if you love bold color, consider using it throughout the room in a way that feels intentional. But this half-hearted approach, where you commit to a color on just one wall, looks like you ran out of paint or courage halfway through. Cohesive color palettes feel more sophisticated and pulled together than random pops of color that don't relate to anything else in the room. The next mistake is something that can instantly cheapen even the most expensive renovation: skimping on finishes and hardware. Plastic switch plates, flimsy curtain rods, builder grade cabinet hardware. These details might seem small, but they drag down the entire feeling of your space. You don't have to spend a fortune, but investing in a decent switch plate, proper curtain hardware, and cabinet pulls that don't feel like they'll break if you look at them wrong makes a huge difference in how finished and intentional your home feels. These small upgrades pack a massive punch for relatively small money. Swap out those plastic outlet covers for something that doesn't look like it came from the bargain bin, and suddenly your whole room feels more expensive. That being said, here's a mistake that encompasses a lot of other mistakes: over-designing or under-designing your space. Walking into a room that feels like a sterile museum is just as uncomfortable as walking into one that's so packed with stuff you can't move around. Over-designing spaces feel uptight and unwelcoming, like you're not allowed to actually live in there. Under-designed spaces feel unfinished and cold, like no one really cares enough to make it feel like home. The sweet spot is curated but livable, intentional but comfortable. You don't want to be in either extreme. You want people to see that thought went into the space, but you also want them to feel like they can sit down and relax without breaking something precious. Finally, let's address the design equivalent of eating plain oatmeal for every meal. And that would be rooms with no contrast or texture. When everything is the same color, same material, same finish, your space feels flat and boring. Contrast and texture are what makes rooms feel layered and interesting. Pair smooth with rough, light with dark, soft with hard. Put a velvet pillow against a linen sofa. Place a rough wooden bowl on a sleek marble counter. Hang soft curtains next to hard window trim. These contrasts create visual interest and make spaces feel more human and inviting. All smooth surfaces feel cold. All rough textures feel chaotic. The magic is happening when you mix them thoughtfully. Texture doesn't mean fabrics, it's wood grains, stone surfaces, woven baskets, brushed metal, glossy ceramics. Layer different textures throughout your room and suddenly it feels rich and sophisticated instead of one-dimensional. There you have it, guys. 12 design mistakes that can turn every beautiful home into frustrations. The good news is they're all fixable, and most don't really require a complete renovation. Which one of these mistakes do you hate the most? Let me know in the comments. We've all been there. Keep these tips handy for your next decorating project. And hit that subscribe button for more tips and help. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Built by Becker.